As a boy, even I dreamed sometimes of being not a Stark of Winterfell, but a Dayne of Starfall. Legend has it that the Dornish founder of House Dayne followed a falling star to where it hit the ground, and there he raised his castle. A fantastic story, I know, but House Dayne has a relic to prove it. Dawn, the most famous sword in Westeros. Forged from the fallen star's cold heart and as strong and sharp as Valyrian steel. Many houses have ancestral swords passed from father to eldest son, like my own family's ice. But Dawn doesn't pass to the Lord of House Dayne by right. To wield Dawn, a knight of their house must first be deemed worthy. It doesn't matter if he's the Lord, a younger brother or a distant cousin. If none are found to be worthy, the blade stays on the mantle in Starfall until the next generation. But Dawn hasn't rested there often. From House Dayne have risen some of the greatest warriors in Westeros. Vaurian Dayne, who was a king and the greatest knight in Dawn before he was defeated by Nymeria. Because of his honor and his prowess, she sent him to the wall in golden fetters and took his heir as her husband. Joffrey Dayne, who answered Aegon the Conqueror's demand to submit by invading Aegon's 7 kingdoms and marching an army to the gates of Old Town, where Aegon had been crowned. And the greatest of them all, Sir Arthur Dayne, the Sword of the Morning. During the reign of the Mad King, a band of outlaws calling themselves the Kingswood Brotherhood terrorized the forest outside of King's Landing. Every force sent after them either returned empty-handed or vanished into the woods, never to be seen again. The king was furious and dispatched Sir Arthur of his own Kingsguard to deal with the threat. Sir Arthur didn't put the villagers to the question or set fire to the woods to smoke out the Brotherhood, as other forces had done. He paid the small folk for the food his men ate, brought their grievances to the king, even won them the right to take a few of the king's deer during the autumn. The forest folk had looked to the outlaws to defend them, but Sir Arthur did more for them than the outlaws could ever hope to do. When a villager led Sir Arthur and his knights to the outlaws' secret camp, the Brotherhood, to their credit, didn't flee. One of their leaders, the Smiling Knight, was a madman. Cruelty and honor jumbled together, but he didn't know fear, not even when Sir Arthur drew Dawn before him. Soon the outlaw's longsword had so many notches that Sir Arthur stopped to let him fetch a new one. The robber knight chose another and then asked for Dawn. Sir Arthur replied, "Then you shall have it." The Smiling Knight never smiled again. The mad fool. Dawn is just a sword. Sir Arthur was the true steel. Strong, brave, and loyal to a fault. He would never have aided Rhaegar's abduction of my sister if his vows hadn't compelled him. And though we fought on opposite sides, I admired him. When I was younger, I wanted to be him. Every boy did. And I killed him. Not in single combat, but as he was on his knees, a dagger in his back. I'll never forget the look in his eyes. He wasn't angry or betrayed. He'd done his duty to the last, even though he found it dishonourable, and even though he knew what awaited me in that tower. Sir Arthur Dayne died the greatest knight who ever lived. After Robert's coronation, I returned Dawn to Starfall. One day, House Dayne will raise a worthy successor to Sir Arthur. Until then, Dawn gathers dust above the fire, with the dream of every boy in Westeros.
Some houses rise to power through strength, others through wealth. House Frey gained its title through cunning. Centuries ago, its founder looked at a map and noticed how the trident spears the neck, cutting off the north from the south. He realized that a river of gold would flow to the man who owned the right bridge across the water. It took the Freys 3 generations to complete their forefathers' vision. A massive arch of smooth grey rock, wide enough for 2 wagons to pass abreast. When they were done, they built high curtain walls, deep moats, and heavy gates to protect the approaches. and put up squat, ugly, formidable keeps on either bank. The twins. Commanding both road and river with arrow slits, murder holes, and portcullises, the twins ensure that no one crosses without begging the Freys' leave and paying the Freys' toll. The plan worked. The family grew rich and powerful, exacting gold from lords, merchants, and poor farmers. A good thing, too, given the number of Freys the bridge has to support. Whatever the case, House Frey does nothing so well as survive. When the Ironborn conquered and razed the Riverlands, the Freys hid in their castle. When Aegon and House Tully swept the Ironborn back to their islands, the Freys hid in their castle. When my ancestor demanded their allegiance as Aegon's new Lord Paramount of the Trident, the Freys bent the knee from their castle. Perhaps then we should not have been surprised when my father, Lord Hoster Tully, called his banners against the Mad King, and Lord Walder didn't answer. The Baratheons, Starks, Aarons, and Tullys, some of the oldest and greatest houses of Westeros, fought and bled for the cause of justice, while House Frey hid in its castle and waited. No doubt if Rhaegar had won at the Trident, Lord Walder would have given him safe passage into the north to destroy the rest of my husband's northern army for a fair price. But Rhaegar fell, and lo and behold, the Frey army appeared to render aid to our already victorious forces. Many sniggered that Lord Walder had been waiting for his army to come of age, having fielded it out of his own breeches. My own father named him the late Lord Frey, to the other lords' amusement. In many ways, however, Lord Walder was wise. We had no guarantee of victory, and had he fought with us from the outset and we failed, he would have lost the bridge his family was so proud of. More pride than honor. Those should be the words of House Frey. Yet part of me wonders if Lord Walder waited not out of fear but hope, that we would be destroyed, leaving him to assume my family's place as Lord Paramount of the Trident, to buy the respect they've always wanted, but refuse to earn.
Most houses take wild beasts for their sigils, calling themselves bears, lions, or stags, as if a cloth banner could make them so. That isn't the way of House Tarly. Our sigil is the huntsman pulling his bow, and it isn't some idle fancy. As soon as a son of House Tarly can hold a spoon, he gets a bow. As soon as the boy can sit a horse, his father takes him on a hunt. They return with a stag, a buck, a boar, a brace of pheasant, even if it takes days. Even if it takes a week. Even if it takes the boy's whole life. Horn Hill is ours. A fitting home for one of the oldest and most honorable families of the Reach. Legend has it that Harlan the Hunter and Herndon of the Horn, two sons of Garth the Greenhand, raised the castle in the Age of Heroes, and shared a home and a wife for 100 years. Most of the great houses spout such nonsense about their origins. At least my family doesn't claim some long-lost ancient crown like the rest of them. House Tarly breeds soldiers, not kings. When House Gardner ruled the Reach, we served them well and loyally. When House Gardner died, and Aegon gave the Reach to their stewards, the Tyrells, we served them well and loyally. We know our place, even if the Tyrell women don't. When Aegon's son faced rebellion from the Vulture King of Dawn, my ancestor, Savage Sam Tarly, led the royal forces on a vulture hunt. Heartsbane, our ancestral Valyrian sword and the pride of our house, soon ran red from point to hilt with rebel blood. When Robert Baratheon rebelled against Aerys, I led the Tyrell van and handed him his only defeat in the war at Ashford.